Thanks, Jim. Of course, in a high-stakes election like this, there's bound to be a lot of money spent. According to the most recent records, the Safe Roads Yes campaign has raised nearly $9 million. Most of that money has come from construction companies who could make, of course, big bucks if Prop 1 passes.
On the other side, one of the main groups urging you to vote no is the Coalition Against Higher Taxes and Special Interest Deals. They've raised significantly less money, bringing in about $171,000 in its most recent filing. Most of that money for the group comes from its leader, Paul Mitchell, who's contributed more than $160,000 out of his own pocket.
That's right, and he joins us now. Paul, good to have you with us today. You feel very passionate about this. Tell us why.
Well, we think it's time that the supporters stop with the scare tactics, stop misleading the voters, and actually inform them what Proposal 1 does. Proposal 1 is the largest tax increase in 50 years in Michigan, over $2 billion. Only 25% of that money in the first year goes to fixing our roads, and even in year 3, when things get up to full steam, only 60% of the money will go to our roads. 40% go to a range of other things, what we call special interests, things that were added onto the bill at the last minute in order to secure votes in the Senate and in the House, and then hopefully among the voters, things that are unrelated to the votes.
Yeah, Paul, let's talk about that special interest.
Sure.
What exactly are you talking about when you say special interest? Are we talking about like the fat cat banks, insurance companies, things like that?
No, actually, we're talking more about a variety of things for education. They put money into revenue sharing. They put additional money into a variety of other things in order to secure interest of people in the Senate and in the legislature, and hopes that we secure their votes in the May 5th election. It's not looking that way, but that was the intent. You have to remember that this is based on the sales tax and 3 other taxes. It increases the wholesale fuel tax. The sales tax is regressive, and even with the earned income tax credit change that they're making in Proposal 1, this Proposal 1 hurts people that work every day. If you make $58,000 a year as a family, and you have 2 kids, you're going to pay about $660 more every year in taxes in order to theoretically fix our roads. They promise to fix our roads, but there's no guarantees that our roads are going to get any better or significantly better than they are now.
Paul, I wonder, is it fair to call things like sending money to education a special interest, or even, I know with the earned income tax credit, in a break to some low-income people to offset the fact that the sales tax would affect some of these low-income people? Is it fair to call those groups special interests?
Well, Joanne, I think it is when they tack them on the last minute. You have to remember this happened overnight, the night of December 18th, the morning of December 19th. This was a roads package. As they were talking about it, they were trying to come up with a compromise. Right. And then all of a sudden they started throwing these other things on there in order to try to move the thing forward. It was a roads package. They're selling it as a roads package, but it really no longer is.
So we can refer to it as maybe higher taxes for things other than the roads. Let's talk about the fact that right now, according to all the polls, the thing is going down in flames anyway, and you spend a lot of money on your own pockets. What do you read into these numbers?
Well, we don't want to. People get complacent, and that's not the thing to do. Polls only matter after the vote's held. At this point in time, we're encouraging people to send a message to Lansing, to send a message that just fix our roads. We don't need to raise taxes $2 billion until you try to responsibly use the money you have.
Paul, you know, though, that the reality is it's not going to be easy to just fix the roads. They tried this for a long time. It didn't happen. We have horrible roads. It's affecting our cars, affecting our wallets in the meantime. So quickly, if you can, what is your plan B?
Well, I think there's a variety of proposals that have been put forth in the legislature already. Even supporters of the Proposal 1 said if it fails, they believe they'll come up with an answer in the legislature. I think we let them do that. If they fail to do that, there's a number of citizens groups that have already talked about a citizens initiative. So I think first we let the legislative process go forward, go back to work and do the job right.
Paul Mitchell with the Coalition Against Higher Taxes and Special Interest Deals. Thank you very much for being with us today.
All right, the groups supporting Proposal 1 now have been a mixture of construction companies, prominent politicians, education leaders, some business groups. One of those, the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce.
And we're joined now by Brad Williams, the Vice President of Government Relations for the Chamber. Brad, thank you for being with us. Why do you feel that Proposal 1 needs to pass?
Well, you said it yourself just now talking to Paul. Our roads are in deplorable condition. They're bad, they're getting worse, and there's only one viable opportunity to fix the problem, and that's passing Proposal 1. The other side wants you to believe that there's a free shake at this sometime in the future, but every idea, every wish they've come up with doesn't pass the smell test. It ends in, results in cuts to local units of government, to education, and worst of all, it doesn't guarantee that the money will go to fix the roads. It puts it subject to the whim of the legislature every year and lets the roads duke it out with every other important state service. And so the only way to fix this problem is to pass Proposal 1 next Tuesday.
Now, Brad, this adds 1% to our sales tax. It's not a short-term thing. It's not like for 5 years until the roads are fixed, not for 10 years. It's forever. And you know how it is. These things never go away. Once you add that tax, it never goes away. Does that bother the Chamber of Commerce that we may be paying for this forever?
Well, I will tell you, Stephen, it's a reflection of the fact that we've been disinvesting in our roads for 31 years. We've raised the gas tax one time since 1984, and that was 1997. It was a half measure. It didn't fix the problem. The fact that we've been disinvesting for 31 years just means that it's going to take longer to fix it. It's just like changing the oil in your car. If you can say, no, I don't want to change the oil in my car, but at the end of the day, when your engine blows, it's going to be a lot more expensive.
Brad, do you truly think, though, that this is the best that we as a state can do here? Really a complex set of tax codes here
Like
that are
10
really
different laws that have to change?
that are difficult for people to understand. It's not very clear cut, and I think that's making a lot of people angry.
Well, I think if this were a simple solution, this would have been done a long time ago. Like I said, one time since 1984 we've tried to address this issue, and we didn't address it very well back then. There are any number of ways the legislature could have chose to address this problem. They chose this option. We believe it's a good option, and we're encouraging people to vote yes on Tuesday.
Now, the other side is saying basically this is the special interests involved. We've talked about that. The special interests include basically low-income people, schools, cities. So it's not really special interest, but the people who are supporting the same side you are the construction companies, people that do stand to make some money from this deal. Does that bother you?
No, I think, you try to invest in a campaign in any way you can, and certainly, the construction companies have been a big part of the financing, but so have groups like the Detroit Regional Chamber. I think if you look at the campaign finance records, you'll see that we've invested. And it's funny that they call these special interest deals. What they call a special interest, I call Bennett Woods Elementary School, where my daughter goes to kindergarten. These aren't special interest deals. These are vital state services that need to be invested in for the state to continue its economic recovery.
If Proposal 1 fails, who's to blame in your eyes?
If Proposal 1 fails, I don't know that you can point to any one person that is to blame. I'll certainly take my share of the blame. I've been out talking to groups across the region and state. I'll take my share of the blame. I'm sure everybody will. But we don't anticipate that happening. We think that voters on Tuesday, though they see a solution they don't think is perfect, they recognize that the only solution that's viable and is going to get our roads fixed is voting yes on Tuesday.
All right, thank you so much. Paul Mitchell, by the way, was standing by and listening to the responses going on. What did you hear? We saw you get a little upset about something there, Paul.
Oh, just gesturing. The Yes campaign tells you they guarantee money to the classrooms, guarantee money to police and fire. The reality is, I've asked them multiple times, show me in the language, in the legislative language, where there's a guarantee that money's going to go to the classroom, that money's going to go to protect public safety. They can't show you that. It doesn't exist. They ought to stop talking about guarantees and say, well, maybe we promise. There's a lot of promises in this thing, but to be honest with you, the voters aren't taking these promises very seriously given the history. We need to tell the legislature, go back to work. The question before the voters on May 5th is, do they want to vote yes on a crummy proposal, or do they want to insist that the legislature do the job right and get it and move forward on fixing our roads?
Paul Mitchell and Brad Williams, we thank you both for talking to us this afternoon and shedding some light on this issue from both sides.
Vote 1 week from today, so it's really in your hands now. Coming up next, after a fatal shooting by an ICE agent in Detroit, we've seen a calm response from the community here, which may be thanks to Police Chief James Craig. We'll talk to him live right after this.